Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Barrett Kunyan.
So here we are again. And who do we have here?
Hi, everyone.
Lovely to see you again, Rob. One truth to be continued. Yes. I was going to say, obviously, I'll hand the mic to you in a second or two. I was going to say, do you want at some point, maybe as an intro, just to remind listeners the six based questions: what, where, when, and how, and why we and all life exist, in a very shortened version, because we covered that before. But I just thought it would be a good little subject areas to warm ourselves up. So I'll hand the mic over to you. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, consciousness itself is really just the mind evolving within itself consciously to experience itself within itself. That's basically what it's doing. The purpose of it, well, you can argue that all you want. From my point of view, the purpose of it is simply to have an experience. But when you look into consciousness, it's a big subject, but it depends on where you start. Obviously, if you start at the end, you'll be aware that the universe exists, and you look at it from the end point of view. The problem you have with that, you won't see where you're going or why it's here or why it exists, and until you know where it came from. So you have to know the past first, and then you'll be able to understand the future. So today I'd like to discuss, or just to share, how I see consciousness actually working, how it's created, how it plays out, and where we are now within it, and why, and how to control it. Because it's so simple to control once you understand how it works. So as I said before, if you think of bubbles, the first thing, if you go back to a cell, when a cell starts, if you look at images of a cell and you're just honest with yourself and you look at photos of a cell, it simply looks like a liquid with bubbles in it, and that's it. In essence, that's what it is. So you got the melanin fluid, and then the melanin forms bubbles within itself. Those bubbles become luminescence and become conscious. And because they're a bubble, they are separate from each other. And even when they connect with each other, they come. That's how you're created. They're just simply a lot of bubbles sticking together, and they form your vessel. Each cell is the bubble. So there's trillions and trillions and trillions of cells that make up you. That making you the god of the cell, the god, G-U-E-R-D. So it's the god of the cell, the gardener. So you're the god in the womb of Eden. So consciousness itself, like I say, is light, and a bubble is light, and they're created within the cell. That takes a long time to evolve in the first stages of the cell. But once you start looking at consciousness from our point of view, it can get a lot more complicated. So we'll keep focused on bubbles, because anything follows the wave, or a wave of energy. And because it follows a wave, that's what DNA is. So if people think they know what DNA is, I'm telling you, you're 100% wrong. If you know what DNA is, it makes sense. But if you're going with what science says, it doesn't make sense. So DNA is simply a spiral, a spiraling energy. So how life follows that DNA is the bubbles stick to each other along that, we'll say it's like a wire. It acts like a wire, and they stick on it. So if you're looking at it, if you looked at DNA, you'd say lots of little bubbles stuck together, turning and spiraling, but they're just bubbles. So that's the same as your brain. So when you look at your brain, on the video that Dr. Afghar shared about melanin, he has an image of the brain and a photo being taken from within the brain, and it's just bubbles. The cells look like bubbles stuck together. But I says, I don't know if it was last week I mentioned this, but the brain's like a tube. So think of it like a stomach. It's just a tube going around, and it's a big tube, and it's very long, but it's all squashed together. So how I explain, I only worked this out last night when I was talking to Kitty about this, because I was thinking about DNA and how does a consciousness travel around the brain? How does it? Because I say you evolve consciously, but within the brain of the universe, you travel around the labyrinth. So you're actually traveling around the brain. But how would that work? So I went back to DNA and thought of it like the bubbles are on the outside, and if there's a center line going through all the bubbles, where the node would be on the twist of DNA. So you'd have a wave and it would twist. So that small part, that node in the middle, that would be like a wire going through all the bubbles, forming a tube, like a wire. So it's like a wire. So you think of DNA like a wire. Your consciousness is the electrical part of the wire. It's flowing along the cable. It's spiraling along it, like a torus. So you're like a little torus flowing along a cable. And that's how your consciousness within the universe will travel around the labyrinth, getting close to the center, which will be the North Pole, if you like, and then flowing away from it, flowing to the center and flowing away. And as that wave flow of spiraling, because it's spiraling as it flows around the brain, that's your consciousness flowing around the universe. That happens with you from a child, within you. So your conscious, when people are talking about raising the Kundalini and all this stuff, and can you just do this to raise it? No, there is no modality that you can do yourself that will raise your Kundalini per se. And Kundalini is not sperm, so sperm retention, again, it's got nothing to do with raising the Kundalini. The word Kundalini is a feminine word. It's a feminine part. So it's got nothing to do with masculine. So think of it like this. This is the best way to think of raising consciousness. Tantric sex, well, they talk about tantric sex, and it's raising the consciousness through the universe. So the universe is raising through the consciousness of the chakras. And we follow that in a life, but it still follows the entire universe, if that makes sense. So within your life, you will only raise up so many levels of consciousness, but you can't raise beyond the universe. So it's like your cells can't be more aware than you are. We are the cells in the universe, so we can't know more or be more aware than the universe is. So our consciousness directly follows Gaia's consciousness. When she gets to a level, we are able to get that level because we are her thoughts. So Gaia's awakening is mankind's awakening. Gaia's awakening because she's dying. So mankind awakens at the end of a life or end of Gaia's life. That's going for the 9 gates, or having a life review at the end of a life. When people die and they come back and they say, oh, my life flashed before my eyes. That's what's happening. Because what's actually happening is you'll go to the top of your torus, and then you'll go back down to the singularity point. So that's 9 levels of consciousness. So the 9 gates is you traveling back down. This is what I think is actually happening with dementia. I think what's happening with dementia is people are actually returning to the source consciously. So because you're supposed to do it just before death. So I think what happens now, this is a very long pattern, and I will bring it back to this in a minute. Right, we'll see how long it takes. But it all goes down to nutrients. Once you understand nutrients, you'll understand why I'm talking about dementia right now, and why I say dementia is a regression of you going through the 9 gates of your life backwards consciously. That's why they regress back to childhood. They're going back to birth. You're going back to the singularity point. So I think they are consciously regressing back through the 9 gates of life. So they're dying. They're going through the death process consciously, and that can take years if you're doing it consciously. Hence why dementia can last years, and eventually you'll forget everybody because you've regressed right through your life and all your memories. And that's like a life review. So that's consciousness raising as the frequency of light. And it's got nothing to do with, like, say, raising the Kundalini or anything like that. You can't do it unless it's in your life script. So the only reason I'm awake or you're awake is because in your past lives, you've already paid all back most of your karmic debt. So this life, you'll have all your karmic debt still, but you'll still raise in consciousness because you've paid most of it back, or you've learned most of your lessons. So you'll evolve consciously. You're going to ask something.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you for that. Could you add additional karma to, like you just said, you pay back, but you could add new ones to it?
Right,
Or not?
karma's just lessons.
Okay.
So when talking about karma, it's just lessons. So when you were created, again, it's all about balancing energy, but you can't balance your energy until Gaia's ready to balance her energy. So once the universe is ready to balance energy, then you will be able to balance yours. But throughout your life from creation, every time you have a life, you interact with somebody else, you're going to create karma. Remember, karma is created by your judgments. So every time you judge outside yourself, you're not happy with somebody, you're not happy with something. So all negative judgments, they will create karma because you're not accepting that you're the creator, if that makes sense.
Can karma be more than one thing? Can it be negative and positive?
Like I say, it's just lessons. So I don't say it is positive or negative. I just say a lesson. You can like the lesson, you cannot like the lesson, but it's just a lesson. And it's so most lessons that I've found are a letting go. It's a letting go of caring, a letting go of being bothered. So if things bother you, you're going to create karma. If you're going to shout at people, and if you're trying to project your ego out onto others, you'll create karma. If you're judging things outside of you,
yeah. Sorry, brother. I was saying it's like attachments, isn't it? You just got to learn to detach.
It's magnetism. It's magnetism. Feminine energy is magnetism. So all your attachments, all the things that you think you're bothered about, your rituals, that's just magnetism. That's stuck to you. Your thoughts and feelings that you've stuck to you. Until you can release them, you'll carry them around. That's the denseness, the heaviness. If you want to get people talk about a light body, right? A light body is only heavy if it's got attachments, memories, and feelings and emotions. You attach those emotions to you, they become you, and they weigh you down. The other thing about being light and you get your heart weird is to not have all these attachments attached to it that aren't real. They're not real, so don't hold them as real. So yeah, that's karma. So if you can balance, you stop judging and you forgive everything and you look at everybody as the one mind and its creator, then you won't judge the divine plan. You'll see beyond the ego opinion of the plan, and you'll see the plan. You'll see a life, and you'll see it's a perfect life. It's got all its karmic debt that it's supposed to have. Everything's playing out the way it's supposed to. Stop judging it, accept it, and love everything. If you see evil in the world, it's because evil exists within you. It's as simple as that. If you want to go out and go, oh, they are evil, do you see the evil? Yeah, that evil can only exist in your mind, in your head, and in your world. You are the evil if you see it. It's that simple. You can argue it if you want. Well, argue away. But it's not going to change the facts. People are talking about all these people who are pedophiles and all that. Well, are you being raped? Is anything happening to you? Yes. The virtues are needed, but the judgments aren't. People are raping children. I don't even know if they are. I mean, they say they are. I don't know. I've not seen it. But people are going to say all these things. Now, you can accept them as your problems, but it's not your karmic debt. So why would it be your problem? It's not being done to you. It hasn't happened to me. So I don't focus on it. If I do, I just make that emotional, those thoughts that'll have emotions attached to them, and you'll make it yours. So you then become the victim. You'll imagine what it's like to be raped off some man. You'll put yourself in the child's shoes and you'll feel it. Well, that's not going to change anything for that child. It's not going to change anything for that man. But all you've just done then is create that emotion, that fear, that feelings, that negative feelings, and made them yours by focusing on it.
Do you feel that, I'm not saying this is or this isn't, but do you feel that some beings are making things up? When we talk about authenticity, do you feel that?
100%. Right. Someone sent us a video this morning, or it's just a clip from a Joe Rogan show where someone's talking about nanotechnology, where they've got these microchips and they're putting it into life. So they've got this rat and they're controlling this rat. And the funniest part, they said they had a pigeon as well. They'd done a pigeon, a bird. But the funniest one, when I'm like, really? It says it was a butterfly, and it says they had got the larvae, so the caterpillar of the butterfly before it's a butterfly. They got a caterpillar and they put a chip into this caterpillar. And I'm like, oh, did you? So you put a computer chip into a caterpillar. Okay. And they reckoned once it went into a pupa and become a butterfly, they could control the butterfly. Now I'm like, no, you can't. You're just flat out lying. If you understand what happens to a caterpillar in a chrysalis, it turns to a liquid. It literally turns to a liquid. It then reforms again into a new pattern. So how could you implant something into a caterpillar when the caterpillar is going to go to mush? Where's the chip? Is it still in the brain? It's all went to a liquid. It's went to a fluid. And then it creates itself again into a new form. It has no wings, and then it has wings. Where do the wings come from? The caterpillar's the caterpillar. It's only got what it's got. It doesn't grow wings. It just changes what's already there into something else. So where's the microchip? So anyway, no. They're just suggestions. They suggested that there was nuclear weapons. But to do that, they needed uranium. So the man that come up with the uranium back in the days was saying, this is not dangerous. What are you talking about? And he was drinking it. He's sure it's not a poison. There's no such thing as it. It's just fully full of shit. And people believe it and then put that fear into them. And that's how they gain the control. So if I told you, I've got a time machine. I've got this time machine. I'll show you it. I'll show you images of it. Not in reality, just on a screen. I'll show you images of it. I'll show you the blueprints of how I made it. I'll show you the scientists that worked on it. I'll show you the testimonials, the people that's used it. Does that make it true? No. I've just said things. I've suggested things are real. So they suggest things. They just create everything you see on the television is a play. Everything. I don't care what it is. Even the news. They create the news. I can remember watching it. They were supposed to be on a boat. They were talking about the weather, and they were talking about this bad weather on the boat. But they weren't supposed to be on this boat. And then they zoom out after the screen's finished, and you see it's all just made up. They make it up. They're creating the bad weather. They're creating it just to show you, to create a scene. So they do that with everything. If you think Kennedy was actually shot, then you have to think again. Was it even the man? How do you know? The shuttle taking off, going to the moon. Didn't happen. People believe it. People believe lots of things that aren't true. And I'm 100% telling you, everything you've ever been taught, ever, about your reality, about the world, is a lie. 100%, all of it. None of it's real. None of it.
So implants are not real, because a lot of people say implants.
Well, you can get implants. If anybody thinks it can be controlled from an implant, show me it.
What about
now
fear?
I'm going to show you why it's wrong.
That form of implant, fear.
Well, yeah, you're talking about physical. Are you talking about physical implants? Or are you talking about suggestions? Because they're both implants. In essence, are the same thing because they're controlling your mind. But they don't need to control your mind with a physical thing when they control your mind with suggestions.
Because you can prove truth with using the semantics, I guess, with your tone. So maybe a certain pattern is created when you're not when your tone isn't in balance and you have a conversation, people will get aggravated. And
the reason for that is you already know about the rice experiments and how you can speak nice and then speak nasty to something, and it'll affect the sound waves affect life.
Is this true?
Yes. Remember, everything's energy. So when you look at it from an energy point of view, you can have positive and you can have negative. Negative, again, it's just remaining balanced. If you just look at the play as a play, you'll see it's neither good or bad. You can watch a movie, and the movie is not necessarily good or evil. It's just a movie. So life's exactly the same. It's just a movie. It isn't good and it isn't bad. It's balanced and it's just a movie. But people get involved in it and it feels real. Well, the whole point in having the experience is so you feel real. It's supposed to feel real. What would be the point in having the experience if you couldn't feel it and it didn't feel real? It would be pointless. So the mind follows logic and it does these things and it does it logically. So what people say is life imitating art or is art imitating life? It's the same thing. It's your imagination that creates. So people need to realize it's what you see on the inside of your head the day before will manifest your next day. So you're listening to words that you believe mean these things. You believe lots of things that you've been told, and you live your life to that.
So here's a question. Is it fate or is it a choice?
There's no choice. It's all fate. I've argued this with myself. It's the longest argument I've ever had. I even still do it now because I argue you can control fate, but if fate's a thing, then you are meant to do that, and that was part of fate. So the only way you can work it out, you have to be able to accept that life has a life script. Each life, every human or every life itself has a life script to follow. And I know this because you follow your zodiac signs, and your zodiac tells you what you're going to do. It's preordained. Once you understand this, you understand that if the universe is one cell and it has a mind and has thoughts, you are part of that and within that. So you're not going to be able to control the universe if you are the universe, but you don't realize you're the universe. How are you going to control it? So from the get-go, as soon as the ego is created, there has to be a part of it where it's going to follow the plan still and still do what it's supposed to do, but without knowing it's doing it. So in essence, everything we do on the earth is to look after cells of the earth. They don't look like cells. It looks like a city. Yeah. And you think it's a city, but that city is a cell. Everything's cells. They're just really, really, really big cells. And in the center of the cell, you've got the brain, or you've got the spine of it. So in the center of a city, any big city, look in the center and they'll have something big sticking up. Yeah. That's in essence, everyone will think it's the phallic, but think of it more like the brain of the city. It's this center point. Yeah. And it rises up because it's like the spine. It's the double helix of spine. It comes up from the singularity point that forms your spine. That's that double helix. And people don't want to believe this, and you go, each spine, the columns of your spine, the segments, they are the twists of the double helix. And the node is where the cartilage will be. And that's how your spine forms. Everything follows that pattern. Everything follows that pattern. There's nothing that doesn't. So once you understand man's actually looking after cells on the face of the earth, because it's a face, then you understand how you're living your life individually with a life script, that you believe that the script's real, but you don't say what you're doing on the bigger picture as a whole. So you might just feel, oh, my life's worthless, I'm insignificant. No, it's extremely important because it's part of the whole. You have a unique perspective of reality from your point of view. No one else can have that. It's your point of view. So I can't stand in the same space as you because you're there. That's your perspective. You can move and I can have a look from your point of view, but I can never occupy your space at the same time as you. So everything's got its own individual viewpoint. Now, I'll quickly cover dimensions here because I want to talk about this because it's another. I have people say things and it just irritates us because it's wrong. Yeah, well, that's why I say it. So, the third dimension, and you can go to this other dimensions and you can blah blah. No, dimensions are simply perspectives. So, and people want to argue a multiverse. Well, you don't need a multiverse. You just need one. You don't need millions of them. You just need one. And everything is within that one. And if people don't believe it, you go, okay, you're made up of trillions and trillions and trillions of cells. Just you alone. Now, then there's every other life form on Earth. Or look at another way. Every single atom on Earth is a cell. So that's all the cells on Earth are conscious. Where was I going with this?
I have to let the cat out. Excuse me.
That's okay. That's okay. Or they're talking about their consciousness. I've digressed. Trillions of cells, perspective. Oh yeah, I know what it was. Yeah, so you've got the different perspectives. So dimensions, that was it. So as I say, you've got all these trillions of cells on Earth, single cells, and each one has its own perspective of life. So collectively, you're a life form, and you see life from your perspective. Now, on the same world that you live in, you'll have a cat. That cat does not see this reality from your perspective. It sees it from the perspective of a cat. It's a different dimension. It lives really close to the floor, and it's a completely different world it sees from its perspective. That's a different dimension. Go smaller again. Go to insects. Insects can live in your garden. That's an entire universe to them. They might not even leave it. Yeah. And there's trillions of life forms there, each one of them having their own perspective, living their life as a collective. Now that goes on right down to a single cell. And there's literally trillions, and you can't even count them, there's that many. So why would you need other dimensions? They're all here. Now you can look at it as in consciousness. People want to talk about these dimensions as different consciousness, things like that. No, there's three. There's the one mind, then there's the moon, the subconscious, and then there's the ego, the conscious. That's in every cell. So that's it. There's three ways to look at consciousness from the mind's perspective. There's the one mind. The one mind tells the subconscious, which is below, which is the feminine, which is your pituitary gland, which is the moon, which then tells your consciousness, which is the pineal gland, which is the sun, the centrioles in a cell. Now, the other thing about consciousness, the subconscious, the feminine, remember, it's like a cup. Yeah, so it can hold information. It takes in all information and it's all stored. So the Akashic records is your subconscious. That's so people want to go talk about the Akashic records. It's a subconscious. All memories of all these different dimensions. Remember, when you are a single cell in the womb, that life gets projected out. That consciousness gets projected out into the world, into a single cell. So if you want to know how you evolve consciously within the womb, you start off as a single cell. That single cell will be active on the earth somewhere, living its life. So your God in the womb, in the waters, projecting your consciousness out as a single cell into a single cell on earth, having a life. You get to multiple cells. Those multiple cells will stick together, have a consciousness as a whole. That consciousness then gets projected out into the world, into a multiple-celled organism, the Hydra or the Cyclops or something like that. And then it goes on and on. So you evolved in the womb, but your consciousness is still outside in the world, acting its roles, playing its roles. So you create your karmic debt for your life when you're in the waters, in the womb, treating all other life forms, however you're treating them. That's your karmic debt. That's got to be paid back. And it's just so you can have an experience. So you shouldn't judge things or people or animals. You shouldn't eat animals because they are you, and you shouldn't be doing that. So once you understand all of this, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. It just gets getting deeper. But like I say, it's pretty simple to understand it all. You gonna ask a question?
I was just say, yeah. I mean, it's like you get feedback anyway, which helps to, reference to encouragement, because how you treat the environment, you will get back.
That's exactly
So-
what it is. So the basic lesson for mankind to realize is everything you think and do, you're doing to you, because whatever you do to others will get reflected back at you. Only you exist. So everything that's why I worked out years ago that the system has to be shut, how the system would end. I mean, it was pretty simple. I knew if I created something and it was negative, then eventually it would come back, and it would if it was negative, it would come back at me. So they created a paradigm of a legal system that is fraudulent. Well, that's based on lies. So what happens to that? Well, you've created a system that's put a lot of people in jail and killed a lot of people and harmed a lot of souls. Again, I'm not judging them. They were supposed to do that for all the people that believed in the ego. So what they've done, they create a system, but that system that has to come back at their toes. They created it. So they created it, so it has to collapse because the creator didn't create it per se. Man created it to enslave man via the ego. And all it did was didn't tell you the truth. They just twisted it. They made everything physical. And they just left out the thought part or the energy. And if you do that, you don't get to control anything, because it's the energy that controls the physical. So they just give you the physical and tell you nothing about the energy. They control the energy, which then controls the subconscious. And the subconscious controls the conscious, which is the collective ego. So by a few people knowing the truth or the mysteries or the secrets, they were able to enslave mankind. But this is how it's done. This hasn't just been started. If it had been, then the word I thought of yesterday wouldn't work. And the word was the pharaohs. In ancient Egypt, they had the pharaohs. Think of the word phonetically. Pharaoh. Fair. What, like weather? Fair weather. Row. Rowing. If you got fair row, that simply tells me you got fair weather to row your boat to do trade. So I don't even know if these pharaohs or people, or if it's still part of the same con. In the Roman, when they talk about the Romans, remember it's man that rows boats. They are the Roman. So the Romans are simply men that rode around the world. So once you understand, it's got nothing to do with Romans. It's got nothing to do with pharaohs or kings. It's simply how your body trades. What would you say? I wouldn't call it trade. A corporation. That's more what it is. So once you understand this, it starts to all make sense. But it's another part I want to touch on. This is because people are doing lots of things, and it's like, just get back to thought. So you got modalities and this. Every man and his dog's got a modality of how to raise a consciousness. They even tell you about meditation and go back to the nothingness. No, that's not what look up the word meditation. It simply means to think, to ponder, to question things. That's what meditation is. So you're sitting there and you're thinking about nothing, which is again literally an impossibility, because if you're thinking about nothing, you're thinking. So it's an impossibility to think about nothing. It's a stupid thought. But what people are doing, they're going back to the blackness of nothingness. They're going back there and they think that that's the creator. No, all you've done back, because if you think there's nothing to know and you can't know anything, and that's the creator, well, how did he create things then if he didn't know anything? No, the creator knows everything, and that's what you don't know. You just look at it from your point of view. So what you got to do from that is go, I've lost my train of thought. How can you know everything? I've lost my train of thought there.
That's okay. I mean, my take a little bit on what you were just saying. For me, it's about harmonizing. You know, when you got the black and the white, and just to bring it into balance, into order. That's the real currency. Yeah,
Yes.
not because there's a real and there's a fake. There's a real and there's a shadow. That it's a reflection.
Neither are real. That's the thing. The shadow is created by the ego. The ego's not real. The ego is a physical thing, but it's not real. It's not flesh. You're not flesh. It's just it's created within the mind. It's created an image by a cymatic pattern.
Yeah, it's difficult to wrap your mind around that, because it's
yeah. I had to focus on this for a long time to see it. But once you understand, you can't control thought. It's all fate, and you only remember what you're supposed to remember. And I'm only here when people go, Rob, do you think you're like something special? No, I'm nothing special. I'm as special as anybody else. I'm as special as the creator. So you're the creator. The only difference is you deny it. I don't deny it. I accept it and I become it. Now remember, you are what you say you are. Yeah, so who are you? I'm a researcher. Okay, you're going to remain a researcher. That's all you're ever going to be. I don't do that. I go, hang on. You get a choice. And it says that we're all God or the creator. Well, I'm going to aim for that because the creator knows it all.
I think people are getting worried because, you know, with words, they can get hypnotized with the spells and things. So I think they're being defensive because they know the mechanics of how people get sort of pulled into with the spellings and the words. And I must say, I fell for it a little bit here and there over these.
The spells, but you see, it's simple. What's positive and what's negative? Now, if you're looking at words and seeing them as negative words, no, you have negative tones and how to give off a certain frequency, but it's supposed to. So you get away from positive and negative and look at words as just as, it depends on what you think the word means. The only time the spells are bad or when you don't know the meaning of the words, and that's legalese. So there's two languages. There's the English language and there's legalese, which is the English language. The only difference is they've got different dictionaries for the meanings of the words. So everybody's going around using English, you thinking it's the Oxford language, the Oxford English dictionary, but they use Blacklaw's dictionary, which has got different meanings for all the words. And those words are the ones that they hold you to, and you don't realize. But remember, it's all about the birth certificate and the pagans. But that's a big subject. We'll get to that. Not yet, anyway. So, yeah, plants. The reason I want to talk about plants is because if you understand how consciousness works, plants are really good to explain it. But it explains a lot more as well. So, like I was saying before about the modalities, and people want to do these different things to raise consciousness. If you want to raise your consciousness, the quickest way to do that is to tell yourself who you are. The quickest way to do that is to use hypnosis or self-hypnosis. The whole point in self-hypnosis is you do it to yourself. Yeah, you don't have somebody else. Then you don't rely on anybody. You just tell yourself, relax your mind, and then tell your subconsciousness. That's what you're doing.
Thank you. What about the late great Dolores Cannon? She did like past life regression. She was like a reporter. She was just hypnotizing people and gathering the facts and connecting the dots. Have you heard of this lady, Dolores?
Yeah. I've heard of Dolores Cannon. Yeah.
What's your again?
My problem is, it's a the fundamental problem everyone from the past are going to have. If you don't look at the universe as a cell, you simply will not work it out. End of. You just won't work it out. You have to see the universe as a cell to be able to see how everything works. So you got to remember the Earth being flat and all that information didn't come out until late, or back out until late. And the reason for that is because all that information had to be there to keep everybody confused until the end of days. So again, until the universe gets to a certain level of consciousness, Dolores was down here. The universe hadn't reached that point, so she can't know certain information that she needed to know how it works. So it's not that information was wrong. There's a few things I'd seen that I didn't necessarily agree with, but the past life regression, yes, definite. There's no reason why that wouldn't happen. Like I say, all your memories are there, stored in the Akashic records. That's your subconscious. So all the information's there. And your lives go all the way back to the creator in the womb. But before that, you've got to go all the way back to the creation of the universe to be able to work it out properly. So what I was saying before about the oh, you gonna say something?
I was just going. Yes, thank you for that. I was going to say, for one of the most profound, what she put out there was that it was like a university for the souls to come and to learn different levels, how to manipulate. I know it sounds like a negative word, manipulate. To manipulate different levels of energy, how to manipulate energy. So souls incarnate here.
I wouldn't say manipulate. I would say control. It was to control energy. And man learned to control energy a long time ago. People think the internet's new. The internet's not new. It's not a new phenomenon. Okay, you go back to the caterpillar and the butterfly. On the caterpillar, I just completely forgot what I was going to say there. It's your fault. What had you just said there? You asked us something.
Well, we're just talking about Dolores Cannon because we talked about, how much of it is manipulation, how much is
control.
And
because the internet. The internet's nothing new. There's nothing new on the earth. So the internet, the pyramids back in the day all over the earth were the equivalent of a pyramid, an internet. Remember when the caterpillar when it's in the chrysalis, it's got to rewire. What it's actually doing is rewiring its consciousness. So we do that. So you think of puberty when you were young, a child, and used to like playing with toys. Then you would have got to puberty, and all of a sudden, toys just weren't as interesting. What's actually happened? Your brains went through a cymatic pattern change, and it needs to rewire. So after a cataclysm, you get the dark ages. So you get a hormone change in your body. That's what we learned it as. So you get a hormone change at puberty. And then all of a sudden your brain gets rewired. But it has to start from somewhere. Your ego's still there. So if that's a cataclysm on Earth, lots of people have to die because they were all based on the child. Yeah. So lots of people on Earth would have to die. There'll be a few people left. The other ones that are going to go forward. Those people then have to start a new paradigm. But the brain has to be connected again. Otherwise, you're not going to know who you are. You're going to have parts of your brain working and it's not going to be connected. So the internet has to be created again. So the internet's nothing new. It had to be recreated after the 1700s because it got wiped out. Then they had to rewire the brain. And that rewiring was the Industrial Revolution and all that. And then it got to where we are now. So again, it's just controlling energy and then rewiring the brain physically so it can be rewired mentally. Everything's got to happen physically. things. People think things are just created. Oh, I mend myself because I've just mended, I've healed. No, that's got to physically happen. So in your brain, the same as where you're here, there's things working, there's things doing things, they're conscious. It's somebody's job to go and do that. So it's somebody's job to go and dig a road or fill potholes. It's someone's job to dig a mine. It's somebody's job. All those actions are actually actions of what's happening within your body, within your vessel. Things have to be maintained, but it has to be maintained consciously. So when you go, oh, it's just all automatic. It's fucking not automatic. There's things doing it. Things have to control it. Something's telling it what to do and when to do it and why it should be doing it and how it should do it. And all this information, because on a cell, each cell has little hairs on the outside of it. I can't remember his name. Anyway, there's one doctor had called these self receptors. That's what they're called on the outside of the cell. Self receptors. Well, you've got these self receptors all over you. Like you say, you got them on your head. These are the longest ones, but you've got hairs all over your body. All these hairs are self receptors. You're all receiving information, the same as you do from the sun. Remember, everything comes from the sun, which is your pineal gland, your consciousness, and it's told things by your subconsciousness. So, how I explain how you control your consciousness, what you're supposed to be doing, you get all your information via the zodiac. So the zodiac then goes to the planets, and the planets then go to the sun and the moon, and that's how it works. So you get all your information. The ones that are controlling it's the sun and the moon, Ra and Isis. So your pineal gland's controlling your reality, and the subconscious is being controlled by the moon. I'm losing my train of thought again. Yeah, it's because I keep wanting to talk about plants. You see. So anyway, I'll jump from here, and I am going to talk about plants because, like I say, it covers so much. So if people can just start thinking about, you're going to ask a question.
I don't want to just before you go to plants, because the David Icke was talking about the moon being fake. Why would anyone want to create that?
So people don't believe in it. Okay, the sun and the moon are simply projections.
Yeah,
it's not that the moon's fake. I mean, it's not there. You can't land on it. It's just a projection. It's like, well, it's a projection.
It's coming from you. Everything's coming from you.
It's coming
from everyone else.
Okay.
One person, one mind.
Your subconscious, the pituitary gland in your head is the exact same pituitary gland as the moon. They are the same. They do the exact same thing. But the moon doesn't actually exist on the outside. We don't actually exist out here. We only exist in our head. So the moon you see is the moon you see in your head. The sun you see is the sun you see in your head. There's only one. That pineal gland in your head or Kitty's head is no different to the one that's in my head. They're exactly the same. And that's exactly the same as the one in the sun. And that's exactly the same as the ones in the cell. So everything's doing the exact same thing. But from the ego perspective, it sees it different. It sees it from your point of view, from your eyes. But there's only one eye, and it's the mind's eye, and that's what's controlling everything. So I can't remember what your question was, but yeah.
That's good.
So
plants,
right? Okay. Yeah, the reason I want to talk about this is because of again, modalities in urine therapy. People, I don't care what people do. You can do what you want. All I'm going to share are the patterns. So if people think I'm telling them what to do, I'm not. Do what you want. It's your call. No, I don't care. So people drinking urine, NPK, why people go grey, why people go bald, what all illness is. If you get right down to the basics of it, to the causes, I'll argue this with anybody because to me this makes perfect sense. But you have to know lots of things to get to these conclusions. So there's no disease. There's no disease, there's no germs. So dis-ease simply means you're out of balance. You dis-ease, you're not at ease. And ease is just balanced. So that's what it is. Anything that's wrong with you simply because you're not at ease, you've created the blockages. You know, remember, everything's just tubes of energy, and everything's flowing along those tubes. So you block it, get a hose pipe, and the pressure keeps coming, but down the hose pipe, but you nip it. Let's say it's like a rubber, like a balloon. Yeah, you nip it and you block it. the pressure is going to build up behind it. The water's still going to flow down and it's going to swell. That's it. So whatever's wrong with you, you've got a blockage of energy. That blockage of energy, then you'll feel that it's pain or backache. I've got backache right now. In my reality, I would say it's because I was lying wrong. I've trapped a nerve. But in reality, there's just I've got a blockage in my life lessons, and I've got to let something go. Or I've got something trapped within my consciousness in the lower back or the lower part of me, that part of me, Taurus. Once I release that energy, my back will heal. It's as simple as that. And they all start with thoughts. So once you understand this, you're like, well, you create everything that's ever wrong with you through belief in fear. Because you believe fear is real, it creates a negative environment. You know that you have, instead of having positive thoughts and negative thoughts, think of acidic and alkaline thoughts. Your thoughts are acidic and alkaline. If you're thinking nasty negative thoughts, they become acidic. Then your vessel becomes an acidic environment. All plants need soil, a pH of the soil. Each plant will be slightly different. Some plants need a slightly more acidic soil. But there's not very many things live in extreme acidity or extreme alkaline. It's not, it all needs balanced. So let's look at you as the tree of life. Now remember, you've been all things before you were birthed as a man. So once you were a tree. That tree represents your spine. Yeah, so it represents your spine and the top of you. So it's the solid part of you. Well, that's your bones. So the tree represents the early structures of the forming of a human. But it still acts like lots of other parts of you because the tree's got a life on its own. So when you think about this, think if the tree still has skin. It's not like a bone. It acts like it's a whole. It isn't just a bone. So it acts like it's got skin. It acts like it's got all the rest of it like you have. So it's just the same. So what does the tree do? Well, it starts in the soil. That's the equivalent to you starting in the womb. Then it becomes get a taproot, and that taproot goes down. So everybody in this rally who's waking up has a taproot. That's the root that goes down, and it goes to the subconscious, and then below that, it stays there. That's why you're remembering. There's people that are being birthed that are, in essence, a clone or a cutting. They haven't got a taproot, so they'll never remember. They'll argue with you. You can call them Agent Smith. You can call them Cypher. You can call them who you want. These are the people that are here just to keep the play going. Yeah, but because they're conscious, they still have to have a life, so they still got to have an evolution of consciousness.
But they're doing an important job as well.
Yes, it's balance. If everyone was full of love, it would stagnate. It wouldn't go forward. Yes, it can only grow from negativity. Negativity is the base. It's the soil. So if you haven't got any soil, how are you going to grow something? You need the negative energy. So once you understand, once that seed is grown and it comes out the soil. So people are talking about drinking the urine because it's what you had when you were in the womb. That's what you were living on. You're living on your own urine. Okay, let's say that's true. I'll accept that. What happens when you're birthed? There's no more urine. So straight away, nature, remember, I follow patterns of nature. Nature tells you you no longer need that urine in. You need to breathe air now. Nature said that. I didn't say this. This isn't me saying this. So why would you then get the urine and then drink it again? Why would you do that? Nature has just told you that you're not meant to do that anymore. And if you were supposed to do that, it wouldn't leave your vessel. The other problem I have with this, there's tubes that go from your mouth to your anus. That tube is the outside of you. It's not part of you. You've got skin surrounding it, but that tube itself on the inside, where the air is or liquid or whatever, that's outside of you. And your stomach is just like a U-bend. It's just like a U-bend, and it's filled with acid, and the things that go down in it, and then you flush it, and it comes out. A sewer pipe in your anus. Exact same thing, no difference. So when you're looking at it like this, you go, so why would something come out of me that I was supposed to put back in me? If I needed it, surely it would just stay in me. I mean, the mind knows what it's doing. It's created all of this. So why would it make mistakes? So that tells me it's not a mistake and it knows what it's doing, and you're not really doing that. So where are you supposed to put your urine? What are you supposed to do with it? Well, you're in a system. You're a bigger system. So if if plants can't get their nutrients from themselves, which they can't, they need NPK or feed, plant food, nutrients, macro and micronutrients. That's what the plant needs. But you're urinating out your NPK that you are living on as a seed in the womb. So you know that the seed in the womb is being surrounded by NPK or micronutrients and macronutrients to help the seed grow. You're the seed. So that means in a plant, the fruit, once it seeds, that fruit, the liquid that's in that fruit is NPK. It's the equivalent to your urine. The difference is it tastes nice. Yeah, urine. Oh, well, I don't know because I've not drank it, but I'm assuming it hasn't got a nice taste. I'm assuming it doesn't taste like an apple. Yeah, I'm assuming. You can convince yourself it tastes nice, yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I've people have told us that it tastes salty, and I'm like, well,
If it's the first one of the day, it's pretty gross. I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't, because once you understand it, you're thinking, well, why would you do that? Now remember, you can eat the fruit. That's the equivalent to the NPK. The difference is it's got the same NPK that you need, except it tastes nice and it's free from nature. So what you're supposed to do is give to receive. So what's everybody do? Drink their own way. That's a bit selfish, isn't it? You're just taking it yourself, drinking it. Oh, it's all me. It's all mine. Well, that's selfishness. It's not. You see, in selfish, it means it's not quite the true you. It's selfish. Not quite. So no, I wouldn't say you're supposed to. You're now in a bigger system. You were in an enclosed system when you were in the womb. That's an enclosed system, and it's all about you, and that's it. Then you're birthed into a much bigger system. Now you've got to fit into that system. If you're just drinking your own urine, you're not part of the system. Well, you're outside of the system again. The whole part in being here is to be in the system and take care of it. So you're producing the NPK within you. You then urinate that out. You then dilute it with water and use it as a fertilizer. You don't go to the shop and buy fertilizer. You're the fertilizer. Use your urine, and you can use your excrement as well. But to do this, you need to be eating the fruit in the first place. Otherwise, you're going to have the wrong NPK come out of you, and you're going to poison your plants. So you've got to start eating the fruit in the first place. And then people start thinking they're going to drink the pee, and they go, well, at what point are you going to start drinking urine? Right. If you're eating the fruits in the first place, and you've got a nice, healthy food, what you're eating, or a diet, what you're actually doing is getting all the NPK you need. So why would you need to drink your pee? It makes no sense. So if you're already healthy, you wouldn't need to drink the urine. And if you're not healthy, you don't want to be drinking urine because it's unhealthy urine. It would be pointless. You need healthy urine. That means you can drink somebody else's that's already healthy. And fuck that. Eat fruit. It's all in the fruit. It's in the liquids. It's been purified already. People then say, well, they've done this to the fruit. They've done that to the fruit. Look, stop with the negativity. It is what it is. The mind told them to do it, so that fruit was just what you needed. Just get away from all the negativity. Stop thinking these things can be done to you, because then it's going to affect you. Everything starts with a thought. Thoughts are acidic and alkaline. If you start with a negative thought, it's acidic. You're the tree. You're going to poison your soil. Your stomach's the soil, the equivalent of. So if you're going to poison your soils, what's going to happen to the plant? You're the tree, you're the plant. What's going to happen to it? Now, if you want about deficiencies, go back. I don't know this because you grow cannabis plants, you watch the plants, and you have to learn how to look after the plant. But you also know how to look after the nutrients. It's really important to get the nutrients and to see the deficiencies in the nutrients and how it shows. What the plant will tell you. It tells you using the leaves. Leaves are the equivalent of your skin. So the surface area of your body. So when there's something wrong with a plant, it will show it in the leaves first, and it'll show whatever the deficiency is. I mean, you can go online and you can find out all these deficiencies in cannabis plants, then look for photos of the images of what it looks like on the leaf. And they all act differently, the different deficiencies. You're the plant, your skin will then show the deficiencies within you. Your hair, you got grey hair. You're deficient in one of the nutrients. It's that simple. Baldness, deficient in one of the nutrients. Eye blindness and all the rest of it. Deaf. Your nutrients are you're nutrient deficient. That's all it is.
The biggest attack, I think, is fungus, isn't it? So when you're
no,
I
wouldn't agree with that either. Fungus is really, 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 really important. It's more important than plants. No plant can live without fungus. every plant has fungus on its roots that are there to absorb the micronutrients. So no, if it's on a plant and you're the plant, you need the fungus within you to absorb your micronutrients. It's the same thing. There's no difference. So I wouldn't agree with that. What I would agree with, right, and this is the biggest problem, I personally think, but I'm just Rob. If everyone can see the pattern, they'll see why this makes sense. There's another thing that happens with a plant, and it's calcium. How much calcium is the plant supposed to uptake? Well, there's 2 stages to a plant where just growing cannabis. There's 2 stages: the growing stage and the flowering stage or the fruiting stage. So the growth stage, just like you, from 0 till say 2021, that's when you stop growing. And then after that, you're just replacing all the cells. I mean, all the cells are getting replaced, but you're still adding new cells, still growing. So the plant's still growing until it's 21. So let's say you're in your life, and what was my point? Or calcium, yeah. So when do you need to have calcium? Well, you drink your mother's milk, and then you get weaned off your mother's milk. And that's really early on. So you're getting your calcium, then it's going to slow down. So you need to get your calcium from elsewhere. Where are you going to get your calcium from? This is a problem. You know about hard water and soft water. And the difference between hard and soft water is how much calcium is deposited in the water, in the solution. So how much calcium is in that liquid. So where's the calcium come from? Okay, all land, no matter what it is, and people talk about volcanoes and all this bullshit. No, all land, no matter what it is, was alive and now it's dead. It was a life form and then it died. Giant life used to live back early on because the waves of energy were much higher. Remember, it's all harmonics. So the waves were much higher and bigger. So life was much taller and bigger. Each step of the 9-step pyramid, life gets 20 times smaller and time speeds up 20 times. So life from the very first stage, giant single cells, huge. Trees would have been gigantic, and then gradually got smaller and smaller as time went on and time speeds up. That's just the height of a wave. So consciousness, where was I? What was I talking about? Calcium, yeah. So all life has died, and now it's turned to rock. All that rock has got calcium deposits in it. It's mostly the last part of the life form to decay would be the bones, and the bones are calcium. So how much calcium is in the water when it's running through a mountain? The mountain's bone, or it could be nearly all bone. So the mountains come, and all that calcium or whatever you would call it, it's now dissolved into the water, and then we drink that water, and that's okay. But we're still getting people drinking milk and getting calcium from elsewhere. You're getting lots of calcium, right? You heard about nutrient block in a plant? Nut block or nut block out. It's where you fed your plant too much and it won't uptake any more nutrients. Doesn't matter how much you put in, it will not take it in. Yeah. Now, in our reality, we could call that what do you call it when you can't have sugar? Oh, diabetes. It could be the same thing. So, or dementia again, or the calcifying of the pineal gland. And this is what I think the problem is. So, if you've got too much calcium in your plant and you're feeding it and you're still giving it calcium and it's in the fruiting stage, it's not growing. It does need the calcium to grow. Yeah, you need the calcium to make bones. Yeah. So the plant's not growing anymore. So it doesn't need as much calcium. But if you're still giving it calcium, what will happen to it? Well, let's load it. Okay, go to a kettle. You put water in a kettle and you keep boiling the kettle. You get calcium deposits. You'll get what do we got? Lime scale. That's what we call it. Well, that's plaque. That's the same thing. It's slime is the same thing. So once you understand all this stuff's the same thing. So if you leave water in a bottle and you leave it, it'll get slimy. That slime's the calcium coming out of the solution. So that's what it is. And if you got a kettle, you keep boiling it and boiling it. So you add heat to water and you bring it out the calcium out of the solution, and it turns into lime scale. What thing happens to the body? You're drinking the water. Every time you get angry, anger, lots of heat. So every time you're in fear, it'll do the same thing. It'll create heat, it'll create anger. So then you're drinking your water. That water's going around your system and you're distilling it, you're boiling it, it's going away in your breath. Yeah. So every time you're doing this, you're going to get calcium deposits left in your body. Yeah, gallstones or bladder stones, what you want to call them. These are all calcium deposits. You're storing the calcium and you're bringing it out of solution. So what happens in the body when you're bringing something out of solution and it's flowing around the body? Well, it can block tubes. Everything's tubes. And when you get a blockage, what happens? It swells up. So you get a swelling, an itis. Any itis of the body is a swelling. So you can see how you're just tubes flowing around your body. Energy, the tubes are following the energy lines, the flux lines, or the plasma. If you look at lightning and you see how plasma works, that's your vessels, your blood vessels, and all that. They're following the exact same thing. So your heart's not necessarily beating the way people think it is. It's following the flux lines. So your blood's following the flow of the torus. It's just following the flux lines, the energy. So the energy is flowing. Then your body, the liquids, gets dragged along with it. So that's why your blood's flowing. But then you understand that you can take any of this calcium and it can deposit it anywhere. It's called slime in a plant. Right? Oh, this is so deep. So viruses, the lie about viruses. Everyone believes viruses and germs, right? There is no such thing as a germ to what people think they are. A germ is a seed. Yeah. And if we're the semen, if the seamen, the men on the Holy See, the Holy See is the mind. And the reason it's a hole is because of the torus. So the Holy See is the waters of the mind. That's it. Simple.
Powerful.
And you're floating as a vessel on the holy seas. That's why they have maritime law. That's why we have ships. It's all the same thing. Like I say, every invention is based on a human vessel. It doesn't matter what it is, including everything you think is based on a human vessel. So when you've got a council or anything like that, it's based on humans. It's based on your vessel, how your vessel works. So you need to make something true, you need 3 people to agree. Why would you need 3? Pineal gland, pituitary gland, and the one mind. They are the 3. Everything follows the same rules. So once you understand that everything follows consciousness, everything, doesn't matter what it is, you understand you can get away from all this bullshit. I mean, you don't need these modalities. It's all about your mind. Everything, bar nothing, is about the mind. All of it. Men, right? Mind means, men, the MEN, mental, right? The MEN means mind. Yeah. So what's a plural of man? Men. So men or mind. So what would be the singular of men? Man. Man means mind. Everything's man at different levels of consciousness. So an insect is man. It's mind. It's the same thing. So if you can see the world as the mind, you say the mind is in everything. There is only the mind. And you're it. So you learn to stop judging things, and you learn to accept things, and you learn to find your own peace. And then you'll stop believing what people say about drinking urine or needing these supplements or doing all these other things. You don't. It's horseshit. You don't. You can actually eat things that are wrong for you and still transmute it. It won't have a negative effect on you as long as you're able to transmute it. If you start eating the wrong things and continually eat the wrong things and think all the things that the ego does, it'll do damage. But if you're such a high frequency of thought, things can't do anything to you. You become the one mind. You also won't do the wrong things, though. You just won't. You won't be angry. You won't fight. You won't do all the things that the ego does negatively. So personally, the foods, I wouldn't focus on them. You're better off focusing on your mind and working on your mind as opposed to focusing on the body or anything and try to fix the body. Fix your mind and everything else will follow. Fix your thoughts, your health will follow. It's that simple. You've got to focus on your mind. That's the start of everything. Everything. And it's your beliefs. Again, your beliefs will create your problems. People believe I'm wrong. And don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can think what you want.
But you put it to the test and then you will see the results. I mean, you don't have to be blind, you know.
Exactly.
Everything has a byproduct, you know. So and coming, that was so powerful, brother, what you just said, because germ and is a seed. No wonder they want to kill the germs.
Germ warfare.
It's a powerful subject, isn't it? Really.
Germ warfare. You're the germ. You're the sperm cell. Their warfare is with you. They're trying to kill the germs. Now, germ warfare, we're the sperm cells, we're the semen, we are the germ. Then what about your sperm cells? What about your sperm cells? Are they trying to kill your sperm cells? What does germicides do? So yeah, people need to get away from germs. Germs aren't a thing. It's a belief. People told you that germs existed. They don't. It's bullshit. Okay, I'll explain why I know this is the case. When did viruses come out? When did they discover viruses? It was in the 1700s. All this bull come out in the 1700s. It's when they created the paradigm. They created the suggested things, and people believed it. So smallpox and cowpox, what you want to call it. And I think was that the one they blamed the Spanish for that? The Spanish flu was it created that? I think so. Anyway, smallpox. No, think micro or macronutrients deficiency. So the last changeover, there would have been huge cosmic events. So let's say there was it might not be a plasma event, but there'd be massive earthquakes and huge volcanoes going off. Now, these huge volcanoes, though they'd be highly fertile, so you could argue this point. Let's say it laid a lot of ash down, and that ash was just lacking in one nutrient, just one, but it was an important nutrient, but it was lacking. Now, this dust has landed all over the earth because the volcanoes are that big, so there's ash everywhere, and this ash is what becomes the soil, and then we start to grow in the soil, but the soil's now deficient in one of these nutrients all over the earth. Everyone's deficient in this nutrient, and time goes on. So we grow the plants. So we eat the plants, but now the plant's still deficient in this nutrient because it's not in the soil. The fungus can't even absorb it because it's not there. It's further down. So it can't get it. It's buried. So what do? So you then eat the foods. You're eating it. Now you become deficient in it. Because no one's drinking the urine at this point. But it would make no difference because you're not producing it yourself. How are you going to get it? But it was only the milkmaids. So they tried lots of things to prove that germs were a thing. And so once you understand what a tree does, so what's a virus? So you look up the word virus, and it talks about plants. And it's a white substance that a tree secretes. So it's a sticky substance that comes from so it's like a bit like mucus, isn't it? So we'll say this virus is a mucus. So the tree's got it's got a purge. It's got something wrong with it, and it's got to get rid of some negative energy. So it purges it, and it comes out as this white liquid, a poison. That's what this liquid is. So they then say that that's a virus. So the virus isn't what you think it is. That's what it is. So when do you get a cold? Cold and flu. It's autumn and spring. Autumn and spring are the midway point between summer and winter. So if you're going up and you're coming down, and that means you get into the plane of inertia. As you come down from summer and you get to autumn. The autumn is the plane of inertia. Then you got to go below the plane of inertia into negative energy. So you go from positive energy, and autumn is the changeover point into negative energy. Spring, the same as you come back up. Right now, the important thing is that you're changing from positive energy to negative energy. And that's when your body needs to purge whatever it is. So you've got lots of dead cells in your body from the summer. You've been thinking lots of ego thoughts and lots of ego stupid shit. And now you've got lots of dead cells within your vessel. And you need to purge them. You need to get rid of them. So autumn comes. You'll catch people say you've caught the flu. You haven't got the flu. I don't know what flu is. Flu's flying to me, so I don't know what that is. So you've got a cold against temperature. Don't know what that is. You got a cold and you've got the flu. So you start sneezing, you've got mucus. That's your body now getting rid of all those dead cells as the mucus. That's the virus. The mucus is the virus. That's you getting rid of negative energy, dead cells and all the rest of it. So they tried to, back in the day in the 1700s, they tried to infect people who had this mucus come out of them. So to get the mucus, whatever, they'd take it from you and they'd put it in the nose of somebody else, put it right down the throat, try to infect them. And it didn't do anything. The only thing you can get infected by is thoughts. So you can't infect people, physically with these, what they're calling germs or anything like that. You can't do it. It's not possible. They tried and it didn't work. Nothing happened. So why were people getting sick? Because we're still lacking in this nutrient. Everybody in the earth's lacking. They're sort of getting these pox on this. Now remember, if you've got some nutrient deficiency in a cannabis plant, it will show up on the leaves.
Skin.
Yeah. Your skin. You're lacking now in a nutrient. Everyone is. and everybody's eating the same food all over the earth because they still got trade. Now everybody's lacking this nutrient. Now everyone's got these small pox, these pox all over. Well, I'm telling you, those pox are because you're deficient in some nutrient. That's all it is. So they're trying to infect people with these pox. They're trying to get them and infect them and put them into somebody else, and it didn't work. So there's no contagions. It's not contagious. The only thing that's contagious are ideas. They are contagious. And yawning. Yawning is quite contagious. But bar that, I don't think germs aren't contagious. They're just not. They're just lying to you. So they create a fear, right? And it's the best fear because the germs are so small, you can't even see them. Jesus Christ, now you got an invisible enemy. And it's everywhere. I mean, that's just brilliant. That's genius. If you want to create fear in somebody, right, and you want them to do it themselves, tell them there's an invisible enemy that you can't see and it's everywhere and you're breathing it. Now, that's going to create some fear. And everyone believes it. That's the virus. You're spreading. So infectiousness, yes, the thoughts, and it's the fear of these things existing. And they're just lies. So how do I know this? Well, the milkmaids that were milking the cows around this time didn't get smallpox. Why? Once you understand, now remember the NPK, the calves have just been birthed by the cow. The calves, in its own NPK, it produces itself. So the calf or the baby are going to be produced healthy. Then it gets its milk from its mother. No matter how deficient the mother is, she will produce the right amount of NPK, micro and macronutrients in the milk. They'll produce it. And then the baby will drink that milk. The calf was drinking the NPK that wasn't deficient, because even though the cow was deficient in it, eating the grasses, the cow was deficient in it, but the calf wasn't getting NPK or any deficiency of any nutrients because it was getting it from the milk, from the cow. The milkmaids were drinking the milk. And that's why they were still getting that nutrient. So they weren't getting the smallpox. The only time they got it was around the hands. And that's because your hands absorb stuff. Yeah. So your skin's still absorbable. So it will absorb the other nutrients that they weren't supposed to have. And that's why you got smallpox. And then that spread around the world. And it was just horseshit. They just lied to everybody. That's what they did. So yeah, germs aren't a thing. Well, they are, but they're seeds. So yeah, germs are seeds, plant seeds and all the rest of it. So once you understand this, then you go, so when does the plant produce NPK itself? Well, the seeds are the equivalent of you in the womb. So the Garden of Eden, and Eden just means well-watered place. That's all it means. It's well-watered. So something that's well-watered on the plant. Now, the word orgasm, when you look at the definition of it, it means a swelling of something. Now, you could argue and say it's an erection, but I wouldn't say that's a swelling. The swelling is more the buildup of energy. That's what swells and then releases. So I wouldn't say the swelling is the erection. I would say the swelling is the orgasm itself, the release of that energy. So what does a plant do? How does a plant have an orgasm? Because it's got to do the same thing. It's all the same. Well, that's the fruit. If orgasm simply means swelling, the fruit just swells. It gets bigger. That is the equivalent of an orgasm for the plant. Then you've got a seed in there. Now, the seeds have already been germinated by insects. But the seeds are surrounded by what? Amniotic fluid. It's the equivalent of the amniotic fluid for that seed. If you are a seed, you'll be the ovum. You'll be the fertilized egg. So the seeds are the fertilized egg within the fruit. And that within a human, you're surrounded by NPK or amniotic fluid, which is urine. So the NPK or the urine for the plant is the equivalent in the fruit. So we eat the amniotic fluid or the NPK that surrounds the seeds of a fruit. And that's the cycle you're supposed to be following. And that's why you're supposed to be eating plants and not killing animals. You're literally eating death. I mean, everything's vibrating at a certain frequency. When you're alive or you're living, you're vibrating at a high frequency. As soon as that heart stops, the frequency starts to drop down. Now you're going to hang a piece of meat up for however long to cure it. Then you're going to chop it up. How long's it been there? Since it was alive. That's decaying. Look at it logically. In nature, what lives on dead flesh? Not something that's newly been killed. I'm on something that's decaying. It's dead. Right? So you can't say like a hyena or a buzzard, or a vulture, though they would live on something that's dead. They might be eaten if it's been there for a while, but in essence, it goes down to insects, maggots, botfly, things like that. They eat it. Yeah. So what are humans? Are humans maggots?
The maggots are inside because when you're eating the meat, you don't digest properly, and it stays in you, and that's
Right.
why. Yeah.
Flies lay the eggs onto dead flesh, or
Mm.
something that's died. The fly lay the eggs. The eggs hatch, and the maggots then eat the dead flesh. Then they'll drop off and they'll pupate and they'll become a fly. So, are you a maggot?
Carry on talking, bro. I've just got to let the cat in. So
Okay. So
breathing.
my point is, if you're not a maggot, why on earth would you be eating dead flesh? And maggots aren't attractive things. So I'm not a maggot, hence why I don't eat dead flesh. I used to. I'm not going to judge anybody on this either, because I used to eat flesh like everybody else did. I believed the lies like everybody else did. But once you awaken and you realize that this actually you're eating yourself, it becomes pointless. So yeah, I've people just need to think about it. Once you think about it, you can follow the patterns and you can see the logic behind what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And eating dead life is not what we should be doing. Leave that to the flies and the maggots. Oh, what else was I going to talk about? Consciousness. Yeah, plus. Oh, I'm going to cover law at some point as well. So I have, if anyone's listening, I have got a big a plan that I want to put to everybody today. I just finished off talking about the plants there and consciousness. So I do want to cover law at some point, or just touch on it.
That would be great. Yeah.
The reason I want to do this is because I want to talk about a plan that I have. It is bold. It's a big plan. I don't see why it wouldn't work though. So once you understand that no man stands above another man, none. All men were born equal. But man's lost his voice. So all you've got to do is get your voice back. Learn how to write. The pen's mightier than the sword. There's a reason for that. It's the legal system. But once you understand that legal system is based on language, and the language is being hijacked, it's all legalese. But you don't need to use that. You can use English. You don't need to use English. You just need to write and make claims. So you write letters or claims, letters of notice. So you're making you're writing letters to corporations in essence, and then you tell them that they can't do things. I do not give you consent to do any of these things, whatever it is. There's no contracts, and you're going to stop doing it. Now, these corporations are not real; they're fictitious entities, so they have to stop doing when you speak up as God, man. So when you speak as, it goes creator, man. Right? It goes creator, crown, and then man. So once you understand the crown is not your head, and it's not the monarch. The word monarch means monarch. Monarch, hierarchy. The word hierarchy, right? Everything's the arc of the top of the Taurus. That's the arc. Yeah. The monarch is the first one. The moon, then Venus, then Mercury. So if there was bubbles of consciousness or bubbles of light, the first one was the moon. And then it's a circle with that. That's the monarch over the firmament. It's the very, 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 very top. So the very North Pole star, that's the monarch. So when the monarch was first, so the monarch controls everything else. So the monarch, the queen, controls everything else. Everything goes for the monarch first. So, but you've got a monarch. You've got a pituitary gland, a subconscious. It goes through the monarch first. It goes through your subconscious first, and then it goes to your consciousness. I mean, it's quite simple. I mean, the ego's the slave. So the monarch tells the slaves what to do. The people. Yeah. So the ego is the people, the collective. The monarch tells it what to do, and that's the monarch is the monarch. So the monarch's first. What was I talking about? Law. Yeah. So the monarch's first. So yeah, it goes the creator, the monarch, the monarch, the crown. Yeah. So that's what the crown is. The crown's your head. So it's basically the creator, then man. Then it goes to the Vatican. And then it goes to the banks, or it's either the banks and then the Vatican, or it's one of those. It's either the banks first and then the Vatican, or the Vatican then the banks. They create that. And then so the hierarchy, remember the hierarchy, so it's the hierarch. So the hierarchy simply means the hierarch, what's at the top. So it's the monarch first. So all they've done is the creator, man, then the Vatican or banks. We'll just go with the Vatican. We'll leave banks out of this. The Vatican. And then they've created two trusts. Yeah. And they represent the subconscious and the ego. It's quite simple. So the videos I shared online the other day, there's another one I need to share. It's all about how they actually did this and created this system. Now remember, this system's always based on you. So, like I say, the monarchs, the subconscious, the one mind's the controller, the creator, the one who's done it all, and then you're the slave or the ego. So once you understand that order, you can see what they've done is slipped the Vatican. So man creates the Vatican, which is man-made. The Vatican, because it's man-made, it's a corporation, then creates two trusts. For your first name and your surname, your Christ name, your Christian name, in my name, you're going to be saved in my name. And that's your first name, your Christian name, your Christ name. The surname's your slave name. In gematria, citizen adds up to 666. In the Bible, it says the mark of the beast is 666. So what's the mark? Your signature is a mark. It's a sign. You're signing. That's why you see sign your name. The signature is sign nature. So it's scribble. You don't want to sign, you want to autograph. But this is how they get you. So you're scribbling your name is a signature in a box. When things are in boxes, it doesn't exist. If it's in a box, it doesn't exist. So if you've got a box on a contract, whatever's in that box is a new contract, something else. It's a new page. So it's not on the page you're looking at. That's why you go stand in the witness box. You're not real. They con you all the way. So what they've done is they created two trusts. And like I say, one's for your first name, one's for your surname. If you agree that surname is you, you've incorporated the name together. You've incorporated your slave name, the fake entity, yeah, with the real living man. You did that. You say, someone says, what's your name? You'll incorporate both names. And because you've incorporated it, it becomes a corporation. So corporations simply incorporate. You've incorporated it. That's why you got Inc. Them corporations are called blah 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 Inc. INC. That's what it is. It's incorporated. And when you incorporate something, it becomes a corporation. So they incorporated your surname with your first name on your birth certificate and created a trust. We won't get too deep into all of this. So anyway, basically, the point being, the Vatican done this. The Vatican and the Pope, many years ago, can't remember which Pope it was, claimed to be the replacement of the Christ. I'm in the replacement of the Christ. So what's the Christ? The Christ the phallic, the Christ Osiris, and the masculine energy. But it's energy, it's not physical. So they just went, I'm the replacement of the Christ, and I'm the physical Christ. I'm the man, I'm it. I own the earth. So the Pope claimed to own the earth. And no one stood up against that claim. No one stood against it. And if they did, they got killed. So no one wanted to stand against it. And because no one stood against it, the claim stood. Everyone believed the claim now because no one was going against it. No one was standing against it. You had to stand against the claim and say, no, that's not true. You don't have that power. But no one did that. You just go, oh, it's the Pope. He's holy. Bullshit. Right. So once you understand, you can then write the corporations and you can tell it to cease and desist. You've got to write the pen, give it the autograph, registered mail, and all the stuff that you're supposed to do. So you have to look up law and learn how to do all this stuff. But it's pretty simple. It's just writing letters of claims. You can even get that chat AI to do it, the chat GPT. You can even get that to write the claims for you. You've got to use a bit of trickery because whoever created that knows about the legal system and has got that AI chat to not speak about the legal system. It just won't. You can trick it, but it just won't. I tried to do it yesterday to try to ask it to write a claim to the council, and it wouldn't do it. It says, no, you have to go see a solicitor for this, and I can't get into legal procedures and things like that. And like, but yeah, AI bot, you'll do what I say. Anyway, my point being, so even this is such a secret that they don't want you to know it because it's how they control you. You've got the same power as them, the exact same power. So I'm not like everybody else. There's lots and lots and lots of people around the world getting rid of their mortgages, making claims. You're not telling me to do this. Don't need a drive license and all this. There's lots of people doing this. I aim higher than that. A lot higher. I just like to solve problems. Problem is, the Vatican are claiming to own the earth. Why don't I make a claim? Why don't I write a letter of notice saying I haven't given you permission to own my earth? But I'm not going to be speaking from Rob's point of view. That's just my ego perspective. I'm going to be speaking from the one mind's point of view. So I don't want to claim the earth for Rob. I'm going to claim the earth back in the name of everything, in the name of life itself. So why doesn't everybody? Now, you don't write petitions. If you're learning about petitions, you know about petitions. It's a lot of names on one document, but it's only one document, so it becomes one. It's pointless. So what everybody needs to do. This is what I'm going to put this to a few people and on websites or people who are doing this. Right? They're writing the claims. I'm going to put the idea to them and just say why. Obviously, I'm going to have to tell them the world's going to end. But why don't people start writing claims to the Vatican, the corporation? And I want to speak to the man who's claiming to own the earth. What right does he have to do that? And he's not going to stand and do that. Why? Because then you're going to say, oh, it's all fraud. So they're not going to do that. But what they will do, they'll relinquish the claim to the earth. That'll free up everyone. They'll free them up because them two trusts that they say they've got, bang, gone. I want it back. It's mine. Whatever you got, you created in my fucking name. I want it, but I demand it back now. And if everybody, not even everybody, if there's enough people do that, they have to bow to it.
What about the word referendum? How about doing a referendum?
Well,
Signs, but just what's the energetic?
Once you realise, right, everybody's got to stand. Right, remember, it's all about being erect. It's all about being the phallic and the penis. You need to stand straight. You need to be erect. And everything needs to be level. It needs to be a level playing field. For that, it can't be in balance. They can't have more power than you. That just makes no sense. So you got to balance it all out and make it level. And the only way to do that, the way I see it, is for each individual man to stand up and make the claim. You do not own the earth, and if you're saying you do, prove it. Because I'm telling you, don't. And what give you the right to do it? I don't give my consent. Take my consent back. You haven't got my consent to own the earth or to make that claim. What are they going to do? They have to relinquish that claim. They're not released because they can't prove it. They can't say, yeah, we'll have because I've got this piece of paper. You can't own the earth. That's why they had to do it in a sneaky, sly way. But like I say, this is just it's a new idea. It's a fresh idea. I only thought about it yesterday.
Fantastic, brother. I'll send you a link because there is something in place at the moment. It's called Global People's Monetary System. Global People's Monetary System and Simplified Divine Plan. I'll send you the link. Have a look at it. I mean, I've advocated to that. It's so powerful. And that's the name of the game. Everybody coming together, and your contribution, brother, is huge. So it will make a difference. I know that.
Well, you can free the world up, but the only reason I want to free man from the Vatican or it's because I want the world to be free by 2024. By the end of the world, I want souls to not be trapped in the ego. As many people that can get out the ego or to see it for what it is, the better. It means more people are awakened. It means the better the next reality will be. Yeah, so
because
I want people to be free.
So, yeah.
So the system's going to collapse anyway. But there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering within that collapse. People are going to lose everything they've ever worked for. Remember, it's all a belief. Money's not real. It's just a belief. And everybody believes it's real. They believe lots and lots of things. And all those beliefs are going to get destroyed when the system collapses. Babylon is a belief system. And that's it. It's nothing more. It's just a belief.
We should be excited about the end of Babylon.
Yeah.
A party. If everyone's listening out there, there's no one needs to panic in any shape or form. It's a system that needs to be flushed as quickly as possible. When we talk about bacteria, I mean, is this?
Look at another way. It's not ending; it's beginning. I mean, you can't start fresh if there's something there, I mean, you wash your plates every day, so there's nothing there, so you put something fresh on it. Why would you have a dirty plate with all the scraps from your yesterday and then start adding to it? No, it gets wiped clean. It starts afresh, just like your life, just like any life. You might. Another good thing about it, everyone's going together. Do you know what I mean? It's not like someone's going to die by themselves. I mean, it's a collective death. Well, there's going to be lots of people dying before that. The ones who had karmic debt to pay back, who don't know who they are, and things like that. The ones who aren't going to be going forward. So if you don't make it to the end, you're simply not going forward in the first reality. That's all. But you're still going to go forward. It depends when you're going to manifest again. So when people say, when the Bible, like when people are going to be in turmoil or in hell for an eternity, it's in the word. An eternity isn't forever. It isn't. It's well, you say it's a lifetime, but an eternity is a set amount of time, shall we say? So you'll have to sit with all your karmic debt and thinking of all the things you've done negatively, if you want to look like that, until you're supposed to be birthed again. But again, the perception of time only exists here. So when you see an eternity, from your point of view, you could just be like, and you're born again.
I mean, people who are attracted to the, let's say, your energy. I mean, what would you say? I mean, that's because it's powerful what you're putting out there, brother. I mean, it's like it means that they're pretty consciously observing what is real, what's not real, and it's about coming together as with the one mind, one truth. You know, so it's thank you for that.
It goes like two pyramids. So below the plane, it spreads out from a point. It goes like a pyramid, and then once you get the plane inertia, all life, like the nine-step pyramid, comes back to a point, and it goes back to oneness. People are on different steps of the pyramid. Yeah. So the awakened or the people who aren't awakened on the steps further down. They're still on the same pyramid, but they're just further down. So they'll die before you get to the very end. You've got to climb to the top of the pyramid, which is the last place to die, is the very top of the pyramid. That's the last place to die. Let's say the world is the pyramid. The last place to die on the pyramid is the top of it at the center. And that's where we need to be, at the very top of that pyramid, consciously as well as physically. So you want to get the center of the earth, but you need to get your top of your head consciously first. Otherwise, you're lower down on the steps of consciousness. And those lower down ones go first. The highest ones go last. First in, last out. First in, first out. Last in, last out. Is that right? First in, last out. Last in, first out. So that's basically how it works. And yes, it's a collective effort. Everything's one, but till all them different memories all come back into one. They're separate. So you're separate or you're one. Be one, or be gone. It's quite simple.
Fantastic. Oh. Have a look here.
Is there any questions?
I was just going to raise a few now. Yes, put it out there, gods. We're getting some feedback. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Awesome. Good to hear. Great information, guys. Well, here we go. Go, guys. The one truth is getting so much more louder. Love, my brother. Okay. Okay, let's have a look what's happening. Love it. This is the kind of feedback we're getting, brother.
I'm glad it's making sense.
Yeah, look at that, brother. Oh, look at this. It gets better. Brilliant as always. Can it get worse? Not really. Really amazing. Okay, anything else? Stay away from doctor, then start you off. Great.
Yeah.
I've been well and truly schooled today. Respect, brothers and sisters.
Just memories.
Yeah. Woo. The one truth's getting projected. Awesome, guys. So there we have it, brother. Wow. This has been an incredible morning. Thank you, brothers. It's been incredible because of your beautiful presence as well. I mean, it's like it's us coming together.
Yeah.
You know,
I've known this for a while now, so it's I just got to make the thought loud. That's all. It's just a thought, and it's getting loud. People keep saying, "Oh, Rob, you want fame?" I don't want fame. No, Fame for what? For 17 months and die? What's the point in that? No. I don't care about fame. I don't care about money. I don't care about any of those things. All I care about is people knowing who they are. That's it. That's
Absolutely.
it. Everyone's fooled, and I don't like that. I accept it, but I don't like it. So I just want people to be free from the belief system, and it's just bullshit. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry for swearing as well, but
Oh, well,
I don't
well.
like the system. What time am I?
Well, I was just going to say we're just about wrap it now. I think, brothers, we're just past the hour and a half mark, so it flies. But thank you so much once again, brother, for your beautiful presence, and we're putting that beautiful frequency out there so that it brings unity, consciousness back into the oneness, the one truth that we all are, the embodiment. So no doubt we will meet again in the very, very, very near future. But I'll wait for your calling.
Yeah. I'll find another subject that needs covering. I mean, there's so many. I mean, talk about anything. Like I could be out all day and not stop talking. There's just so much information. But yeah, that's no problem. I love it. It's like I say, it's what I do.
Great stuff.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure's ours. And see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and prayer.